Welcome to Florence, Italy, a place full of rich history, ranging from its culinary achievements and Renaissance art to its architectural achievements. In terms of the latter, there is none more impressive than the Duomo of the Florence Cathedral. The Florence Cathedral is located in Duomo Square and is the centerpiece of the city's skyline. Today, you will learn how Filippo Brunelleschi constructed this masterpiece and how Massimo Ricci perfected it. This is Anna Knoll bringing you Brunelleschi's Secret. Construction for the Florence Cathedral began at the end of the 13th century. Arnolfo di Cambio was the first architect and sculptor who designed the Florence Cathedral. On September 8, 1296, di Cambio took on this crucial project. He would lay down the first stone of the facade, while also carving statues for the facade. Unfortunately, Arnolfo di Cambio passed away before he would be able to continue his work on the Florence Cathedral, thus halting construction. Then a man named Giotto di Bondone came forth and designed the bell tower. Bondone also passed away, so construction of the Duomo was once again halted. On July 5, 1357, construction continued, with Agostino Andrea Pisano and Francesco Talenti finalizing construction in 1359. On August 19, 1418, an announcement for a competition was made in Florence, where Florence's beautiful, breathtaking cathedral had been in the process of being built for more than a century. Many proposals were received by the Opera del Duomo committee, but each proposal had the same issue. They depended on the use of wooden frameworks to be placed while constructing the dome. Out of all the candidates who applied for this project, Filippo Brunelleschi was the only person who made a promise to build a dome that would sustain itself. Brunelleschi told the committee he figured out how the dome would stand on its own, even if the dome was curving inward. This was a great economic opportunity, but there were many questions as to how the structure would not cave in while being built. A big issue was that the 41-year-old had never built anything in his life. Filippo Brunelleschi was not an open book when it came to his work. He was interested in keeping his construction plan a secret, so the Opera del Duomo committee didn't have much of a choice but to trust him. In April of 1420, the Opera del Duomo committee made the decision and chose Brunelleschi, as well as two other people, one of those people being his old rival, Lorenzo Ghiberti, to take on this project. Brunelleschi would become the leader of this project, and would take on the first challenge, where he would have to lift building materials 170 feet into the work platform above. Before Brunelleschi's time, there was limited technology for this stuff. Before the 1400s, lifting devices were called the rota magna, or the Great Wheel. Brunelleschi figured out that the old method was not going to cut it with such a massive project with such gut-wrenching heights. So the big question, how is an amateur like Brunelleschi going to pull this dome off? Centuries later, a man named Massimo Ricci would eventually crack that code. Massimo Ricci's biggest discovery was the flower method, which was the construction method Brunelleschi used to build his famous herringbone structure. Not everyone believed Ricci's theories, but they did not speak against him either, because the theories they had were proven wrong, so they could not say much. Critics tried to push Ricci and his ideas into oblivion. Ricci believed his theories were correct, and time would reveal the truth. To show what his theories were, he would build his version of the dome that would be 1:5 in scale. Ricci had to face a lot of bureaucracy, but after many years of being put on hold, the Filippo di Ser Brunellesco Association facilitated the finances and paperwork. Ricci was able to start building his model dome in 1989. The model dome was considered a testing ground, a method to study and test his theories. It is believed that Brunelleschi used a radial methodology to construct the dome. This means he used a system of radial chords that intersected the central axis and then attached to a fixed reference frame. This method would allow the position, orientation, and inclination of all the bricks in the dome during construction. The 8 segments, or webs, of the dome could have been built independent of the others, while adjacent segments were facilitated to be joined seamlessly as construction went on. The public authorities permitted Ricci to build the model dome in Parco dell'Anconella, which is located on the south bank of the Arno River in Florence's eastern suburbs. When Ricci built the model dome, he intended to build a model that demonstrated the radial methodology he had proposed earlier. What he did not realize was that the theory he proposed would lead to revelations and discoveries that show the correlation between the radial methodology used to build his model and the actual methodology Brunelleschi used for the original dome. The biggest challenge Brunelleschi faced was how he was going to safely construct a pointed dome that was approximately 45 meters, starting at 55 meters above the ground, which would then go on top of an octagonal drum whose walls were 4.25 meters thick. Ricci's procedure was verified when he was building his model. All the sides of the octagon generate their conchoid arc, and altogether the 8 arcs create a geometric pattern on the platform floor. The pattern looks similar to a flower with 8 petals. Ricci referred to it as the flower, fiore, of Santa Maria del Fiore. Before Ricci built his model, Ricci had proposed the conchoid curve as a part of a radial-based system for determining how successive courses of bricks should be laid. It was during Ricci's model experiment that this practical application had been established as a logical progression with the use of cords and hooks to locate the side faces of the ribs. This would control the curvature of the model dome as it rose. There were people amazed when Brunelleschi proposed to build a self-supporting structure from start to finish without it being fully centered along with all its associated scaffolding. Brunelleschi proposed building 2 concentric octagonal shells that would have a walkway and stairs in between. The 2 shells were to be tied together and made rigid by 24 ribs, 8 major ribs, 1 rising from each corner of the octagonal base, and 16 minor ribs, 2 rising inside each segment of the octagon. All 24 ribs would meet at the center with the rising dome. Brunelleschi started construction on the dome in August of 1420. He completed the dome in 1436 and never revealed his method of construction. It is assumed that Brunelleschi had to have created his unique system of curvature control to pull off such a full-scale dome. Based on what they found from the model, Brunelleschi most likely used cords and hooks to find the rib side facing in the manner that was described earlier. That being said, he was one step away from creating a conchoid system. If Brunelleschi didn't do the conchoid system, it would be unclear as to how he controlled the curvature of the dome. One of the better-known features of Brunelleschi's dome was the herringbone brick pattern, also known in Italian as spina pesce. This was because the brick pattern looked like the spine of a fish. The pattern is created by laying stepped lines of bricks vertically on their long edges, i.e. knife edges, rather than flat so that they stand proud of the adjacent horizontal brick courses laid face down. There is a widely accepted belief that the spina pesce served 2 main purposes. The first condition was to make sure there was equal height to have a point of reference at each corner for independence from the model dome. This was done intentionally so that the dome would not cave in. The second purpose was that the fixed cord had to bisect the corner angle. This was also done intentionally because the bisector was aligned along with a vertical radial plane that passes through the corresponding corner diagonal below. As stated before, Brunelleschi was very secretive about his method of the dome, so we can't know for a fact what he did, and we can't ask him either. However, it is shown that the radial construction methodology described may be the exceptional hypothesis. This method is the most conceivable one because it ties together all the dome's elements and the issues encountered during construction in a logical solution. Based on Ricci's experiment on the model dome, it was concluded that the flower method and herringbone structure was Brunelleschi's secret to the dome of the Florence Cathedral.